Today's episode is brought to you by the Vegas Beer Guys.
Everything sequel contains explicit language. And why the fudge not, you melon farmer?
Hello and welcome to the Everything Sequel Podcast. This is the Spider-Man edition. We're pitching sequels today. My name is Michael Shantz of the How Dare You Awards. Joining me, you know him, you love him. His name is Tom Stewart, and he's from Lonesome Whistle Productions. Say hello, Tom.
Tell her not to open the caviar.
Jay Jonah, love him.
What a great gag that was.
Oh, so good.
Because we've just been talking about Superman 3. Well, that too.
Yeah.
Spider-Man 3, and there's no joke even close.
No, yeah.
It's amazing to me, like how.
It's funny that movie
how
doesn't
do you
have
lose
any
that talent.
Yeah, right.
In the space of a few years.
It's funny that
temporarily
movie doesn't
and then achieve it again later.
That movie doesn't have any jokes that works, but it has joke scenes that work. You know, with the dancing and the club shit.
Yeah.
And really the only other thing that works is Bruce Campbell, as far as comedy.
Yeah, that's right. In an early reboot of the Pink Panther.
Yeah.
Before Steve
Fuck
Martin.
Steve Martin, right. I was just going to say, bring in Bruce Campbell.
That's in our future, isn't it?
Yeah, someday. I think it's a single, though, right? They just did one with him.
I think it is a single, yes.
Yeah. But that's not what we're here for today, ladies and gentlemen. We're here to pitch sequels to the Sam Raimi Spider-Man series.
Yep.
You excited?
I like the alliteration.
Yeah.
Am I excited? I don't know. I mean, I feel like I've come up with something interesting.
Mm-hmm.
It put me in the mind of people who have to do this for a living.
Sure.
And it is very limiting, right? Because I've had to ignore certain things that I know people who write these kind of movies are not allowed to ignore, like key villains.
Yeah, right.
Like legacy characters.
And in some instances, like what they already chose to do beforehand. Yeah. And, you know.
Exactly.
What do you do with that?
Fitting in someone else's IP.
Yeah, right.
I mean, that is
especially when you're this far down the line.
Well, how far are we talking? I mean,
no, I just mean a fourth movie in a series
for them.
You know?
Yeah. But then I guess
unless you're choosing to do an interquel.
But that's the luxury, I suppose, of doing.
But it doesn't matter where you put it. You're still creating a fourth movie for the series.
Yeah, like an MCU, but doing the MCU at this point, you probably still have a bit more license to experiment with how you make the movies than you would after, 10, 15 years of a barrage of IP.
Mm-hmm.
The series is fairly self-contained, It
is, yeah.
Even
That's
Spider-Man 3, even Spider-Man 3 doesn't. I mean, it doesn't do anything actively to maintain the canon within Spider-Man, but it also doesn't choose to shoot off into other areas of the MCU.
Right.
So you're still
Not
on
yet.
fairly solid. Yeah, you're still on fairly solid ground, at least at this stage of the Spider-Man cinematic offerings.
Now, was it limiting in the sense of you struggled at all, or
no? I just ignored those restrictions. Well, in my I was trying to sort of cannibalize the villains of my pitch onto existing Spider-Man villains, and I thought, you know what, fuck it. I'm not actually getting paid for this.
Right? Yeah.
Like no one from Disney's gonna get on my back if I don't. So, just tell a story within the handful of genres that make up the Spider-Man films so far, and do that's what I said. So I was thinking more along the lines of their superhero movies, their romantic comedies. What can I do with that? What can I do within those genres? Rather than like, where does Spider-Man's story go now? That kind of thing. So there's a one-offness about it but then I guess, I don't know, like, that's part of the discipline too, I suppose, for that someone set like the kind of Ragnarok or those movies that the Black Widow. It's like, yeah, they've got to tie in a little bit, but essentially they can stand alone. So I don't know. I don't understand what that is as a discipline, but
yeah, I mean,
you're probably serving too many masters, I think.
Right.
So I'm serving no masters except my own sense of.
Well, specifically to Thor, Ragnarok does feel like a reset into different. So much so that it feels like this last movie was the middle part of a new trilogy outside of 1 and 2 to me. Because you're sticking with a creative team that'll be all the same, as opposed to jumping from director to director, that kind of thing. Yeah. They feel like they're kind of. It just felt like a reset into something new and different. And so that that was kind of part of where my mindset was, in terms of you've got 2 movies that I really like and 1 movie that felt like a kind of a bit of a mess. And so trying to wrangle that movie to the ground and what it sort of left us with, that was kind of interesting to me.
Yeah, and I mean, that's probably why I went in the other direction. I mean, that Spider-Man 3, I didn't learn much from it, but I learned that probably these storylines were worn out.
Well,
they're played out.
It's interesting that you say that, because that's what inspired me to make my biggest choice.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And I'm glad at least one of us is up for the challenge, because I really wasn't. I get it. I also, a little bit of working back from the title as well, in the classic Tom Stewart style.
Well, I feel like I've been going first a lot, so I'm going to have you go first, I think. But just so you know, I'm excited about my title.
Ooh, which means it's either great or terrible.
Just you wait.
I don't know if you're like, I don't know if that title has taken on board my feedback, or whether it is created in spite of my feedback.
I think you'll be astounded.
Wow. Yeah, my title is a departure, I think.
Isn't it always?
Well, I mean, a departure from. I really wanted to just, do Spider-Man 4. Like, I like, because we've both talked about how it's good that it's just numbers. But I don't know, that doesn't work with the movie I came up with, so I have to be true to that.
Fine.
Again, like, this is a pitch I wouldn't try to pitch. You know, this is a safe place for me to pitch
Of course.
a pitch I wouldn't pitch.
So you're saying you wouldn't make this pitch if you were in the room to pitch?
Bob Iger wouldn't let me in the door, is what I'm saying. Now I've dated the podcast.
There you go.
They'll be like, they either made this a long time ago, before there were podcasts, or it's after Bob Iger was reinstated as the Disney CEO. Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
I mean, is there, anything left to talk about before we dive in earnest?
That's a good question. I mean, just to reaffirm that this is not the end for Spider-Man. We've got 2 more phases of the franchise to discuss.
Sure, we do.
I presume are we just going to have a single?
So I don't know how to.
Amazing Spider-Man.
Yeah, I don't know how to handle that. That's tougher.
Because it is just one sequel, right?
Right.
But it's not a single sequel.
But when you take the last Spider-Man sequel into account, I would argue that they're all sequels.
Well, yeah, we're going to have this problem with quite a few franchises, including Star Wars, right?
Right.
It's sort of like, if it happened before, is it a sequel? Interesting. But we'll cross that bridge when we come to it.
All right.
It's also, it's, again, I just want to stress, it's like, the difficulty is out there, it's not in here. Like, there's so many series that don't know what they're doing next. And I don't know what they're going to do next with Spider-Man.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure they've already decided.
Sure.
And there's no way to stop it.
Yeah,
but,
right. People are loving those movies.
I have no idea. I mean, No Way Home would seem to me to be a pretty clear ending.
Mm-hmm.
But that's not how MCU
that's not how they roll.
does it anymore. It's like make a Testament film, but it won't be a Testament film. It'll just be a sequel, and we'll make more, and we won't reset. So interesting. Anything else you want to say about this Spider-Man Phase 1?
Yeah, just I guess for me, it's very interesting when you have 2 good movies and a bad movie. There's that part of me that wishes, I wish they gave Sam Raimi one more chance just to see if he could have grabbed the magic back.
Interesting.
Like, once you make a shitty movie, are you destined to keep making shitty movies, or can you make a good movie after that? But I'm talking strictly in terms of sequels. You know what I mean?
No, so I know exactly what you mean.
Once a series shits the bed, can it drag itself out of that?
And I think if it is clear in the film itself, and I don't know because it's yet to come out, if Indiana Jones 5 is
that's a good example.
definitely going to be the last of those movies, we should cover it next year. And I think that we'll be discussing that this, Spielberg got so much flack for Crystal Skull.
Sure.
Yet, is it a good idea to let someone else
take over
the franchise, even though he actively ruined it himself? And obviously, you could put George Lucas in there. Mm-hmm. Would you still want George Lucas in charge of the Star Wars films, even though he'll take it in a mad direction, but at least it won't be this kind of weird in-between fan fiction that it is now.
Sure.
It's a really interesting question. Like,
what will James Mangold do?
Yeah, and then you get that sort of, even if people like it, is it really Indiana Jones?
Yeah, right. Yeah, totally.
And I guess that question has been answered.
Because there are going to be people that'll say, it was a pretty good movie, but it didn't feel like a Spielberg movie. Yeah, because it's not.
And then you'll say, like Crystal Skull. It's like, well, yeah, but, it's an unanswerable question. I guess with the Spider-Man films, it's slightly different because rather like James Franco's General Hospital experience, they just move on, right? It's just like, okay, brand new Spider-Man, brand new director. 2 movies. Okay, brand new Spider-Man, brand new director. 3 more movies.
Yeah, right.
And you know, like an offshoot, animated offshoot. You know, it's like they just, you know, there's nothing is sacred, right? So there's not even room within the MCU to say, or DC for that matter, as like what is legitimate and what isn't, because you've just got to hand it over to the next guy as quickly as possible, get that film out there before the rights expire. Basically.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, that was the big thing.
Especially
that was the biggest thing for Spider-Man.
It was the biggest
Sony
thing
trying to hold on to the rights.
Right. So yeah, I guess the choice is out of their hands to sort of like, you know, if and that's I'm fascinated to know, like, and this is looping back to a conversation in the ranking episode, but I'm fascinated to know how Sam Raimi came back into the MCU.
Yeah,
and,
right.
What that hiring process was like. Was it like we need you back to reestablish the Marvel film? I don't know. I don't know what he's not coming back as anything special, right? Because they hire big name directors for these movies all the time. So
it's just interesting considering his specific history with the MCU, if you could even call it that, when he was directing these movies.
No, it wasn't, right? I mean, it was just the very seedlings of it.
It's actually, you can argue, even with Spider-Man 3, you can argue that it's what was able to give the MCU to fandom the popularity of these movies.
Yeah. Oh, a huge part of that, yeah. And I think, you know, they're largely forgotten. They've certainly been overshadowed by the recent crop of... But then also simultaneously remembered because Tobey Maguire is in No Way Home. Rebranded as Multiverse.
Yeah, right.
And I guess so has Sam Raimi. Been rebranded as... Because that's literally all that film's about. If indeed it's about anything. It's about eyes. That's what I remember.
One thing you know
as soon as
for
I think
sure.
of that film, I think of a big eye.
Eyes. That's great.
And that's it. Doctor Strange and the...
Multiverse of Eyes.
And yeah, in the big scary eyes.
All right, sir. Well, I'm ready.
Okay.
Let's hop in the time machine.
Let's do it. The name of my pitch is Spider Island. What do you mean? No, I didn't even finish.
You have this history of putting words in between words.
Well, I'm not. This is a Spider Island.
Okay. I thought you were going to say Spider Island Man.
No.
I love that you considered it
I considered
for
it,
a moment.
No.
And then,
I considered... You see...
And then you thought the look on your face was like, no, that's ridiculous.
No, so I like Spider Island was it was like that was a working title for this pitch, and I thought I'll probably put it'll probably be Spider-Man 4 : Spider Island. But you can't have Spider and Spider on either side of the colon.
Gotcha.
The colon's got to be something, after
Arachnid Island.
Yeah. So I thought, well, it could let's just let it be Spider Island.
All
right. We begin with another comic book rendition of the previous films.
80% the first movie?
No, equal weight. That's what I was going to say. Equal weight to all of the films. My other condition is it's done in the comic book style, not the photographic realism of the third film.
Gotcha.
And we take it up to the end of Spider-Man 3. But we take it a little further. We also use it to fill in the gaps of what's happened since the end of Spider-Man 3.
I like that.
Which is that Peter Parker's finally gets down on his knee and proposes to MJ. They get married. And they go on honeymoon to Jamaica. And that's where Spider Island begins.
This is where they meet James Bond.
I really feel like I'm getting to the point where I cannot pull any new business on you. Anyway, so they're holidaying in Jamaica.
Mm-hmm.
They arrive at the resort, and they're nominally happy, but after their first night there,
New York
Peter
has gone
Parker-
into the toilet, I assume.
into the toilet.
Just crime rampant everywhere because Spider-Man's on vacation.
Oh, I see what you mean. Yeah, that's right. There's like, yeah, he's left the muggers in charge of New York while he's gone. And so he wakes up first morning, and he's got that itchy web finger. He needs to go out and do some swinging.
Mm-hmm.
So he leaves MJ asleep in the hotel room and goes out swinging through the forests. And while he's out there, he's spotted by an unseen character. They spend the second day of the honeymoon going on a tour around a tour around Jamaica in a boat cruise. And on the way, the tour guide mentions Spider Island, a place where the most poisonous spiders in the world make it uninhabitable for humans. And he looks over at MJ, and she's like, "Don't you even think about it."
Want to get me some brown recluse?
We're on honeymoon. Next morning, same deal. Spider-Man got that itchy early morning, needs to go for a swing. Except this time,
What's he just swinging from palm tree to palm tree?
yeah,
Okay.
because he has that because as Spider-Man 2 taught us, that's all emotional, right? That's all his way of he swings emotionally. So he's got to fulfill that side of himself. And he doesn't have web impotence anymore because he's on his honeymoon. That's not a problem anymore. He can
Huge spider dick.
He can, he can fire that spider jizz.
Right. He's not shooting blanks.
No, he's not. But as he's swinging, he is caught in a giant gossamer web, like about 10 times the size of any one that he could create.
Gossamer, isn't that big orange creature in the Bugs Bunny cartoons?
There you go. So
Gossamer.
he's kidnapped. Another feature of many of my pitches.
Yes.
that I'm
Well,
sure you'll
and this series.
want to cover.
You're on good solid ground for the series.
Oh, fair enough. Yeah. So he's kidnapped. MJ, when she wakes up and he's not there, and it's like a good day of him, she thinks that basically he got cold feet and he's done the usual Peter Parker.
These two and their
nonsense.
problems.
Yeah.
They're married and she thinks he's got cold feet.
So after a day or so, she gets a flight back home. She has to change in Florida. And at Florida Airport, she goes into one of those racks with all the sightseeing leaflets, and she sees one for like tours of Cape Canaveral.
Mm-hmm.
And she sees the poster boy is her ex-fiance, Mr. whatever he was called.
Yeah, that guy.
I should have looked up.
He does become some kind of villain within the series.
Of course he does.
So does Jay Jonah, by the way.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. I can't imagine that.
Right.
Again,
Well, remember,
it wouldn't take much.
she left his son at the altar.
They need to pick people who have somewhere to go in terms of villainy.
Yeah.
They really don't, do they? Meanwhile, Spider-Man wakes up on Spider Island, having been kidnapped by the inhabitants of Spider Island, who are like a tribe of Spider-Men. And through various kinds of exposition, we discover that Spider Island,
Spider-Man 4, Spider Island, Battle with Spider-Men.
Spider Island was an island full of spiders, a radiation leak from a test of a ocean test of a nuclear weapon, turned all the spiders radioactive. They infected all the people who lived on the island, and they're all now Spider-Men. But they're so radioactive that they can't leave this island. Otherwise, they kill everyone that they touch. So they have a plan to steal a rocket that passes by the island from Cape Canaveral. This is the Dr. No of it all. They're able to ground it with radio signals, just as Dr. No does. And fill it with radioactive spiders and send it back to the mainland, and then the radioactive spiders will turn everyone into Spider-Man, and America will be Spiderland.
And finally, we can travel on vacation.
Yeah, and America will be Spiderland. But of course, the person working on this mission is MJ's ex-fiance. So Spider-Man is caught in between these two. Does he make everyone spider people, or does he side with the non-spider people?
I'd like to think that's not a difficult decision.
Well, it becomes more difficult when he goes back to Jamaica and finds out that MJ has left him, and that she's gone back to her ex-fiance.
Mm-hmm.
Or that's what it seems like in a Three's Company
No, I was gonna
misunderstanding.
say. I love it.
So basically, the choice is thwart this evil plan to fill a rocket with radioactive spiders and send it to the American mainland, or take part in the plan and just make everyone spider people, so he would no longer be an outsider.
Does Aunt May remind him of what a hero is?
Well, after she talks lengthily about Uncle Ben whilst cooking rice. Yeah, but Aunt May will, of course, be the sort of like the humanity clause.
Mm-hmm.
That'll be what, the thought of her, what it'll do to her. Who, she doesn't know he's Spider-Man by this point, right?
Nope.
Okay. So not the best way to tell her.
Yeah, that's a different series.
By having her bitten by a radioactive spider. It's like, what you are now, I was always that.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's Spider Island.
Spider Island! I'm on board.
It's very, very, very James Bond.
Of course.
Not very Spider-Man. Except that, that I tried to keep the romantic comedy thing going with the honeymoon aspect.
Yeah, but you're staying out of New York. So that's interesting. That'd be a departure for the series.
Yeah. I mean, probably
and brought in, Spider-Man's...
Well, the rocket will probably... It'll be a bit like, those sequels that go on vacation,
mm-hmm.
where you... At the end, the rocket will be heading towards New York, so we'll be able to see all the characters from New York.
But it's it's kind of it's an interesting line to cross for this particular series, because you have the real sense of that in the latest incarnation, traveling to Europe and helping out in Germany with the
That's
Avengers
true.
And that kind of thing, as opposed to just being in New York.
Yeah,
which is what Sam Raimi's Spider-Man is all about. So that's kind of
cool.
And
I'm sure if I pitched this to a Disney executive, they'd find some way for it to be the reason why S.H.I.E.L.D. exists, or the reason why...
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly.
Captain America kind of comes out of the ice. Mm-hmm. The shockwaves from the spider missile.
Spider Island is where they found... what's the metal used for the shield?
Vibranium. And I'll be like, no, because that's not really essential to my story.
Well, there you have it. Spider Island.
Yeah.
I like it. All right, then, friend. Are you ready?
I don't
I
know.
want you to fucking...
Tell me, am I ready?
I want you to strap in.
Okay.
First of all, for my title.
Oh, God.
Which I am calling...
Why do I have to strap in for a title?
You're going to love this.
Okay, all right.
I'm calling it Spider-Man 4.
Ever.
No.
Oh.
I just wanted to say Spider-Man 4 and then defy you to have a fucking problem with that title, Mr. Man.
Why not Spider-Man Forever?
No.
Tie into Wakanda Forever.
Yeah, I was going to say. It sounds like the next title in the Nolan Batman series. The Dark Knight Forever.
You could do Spider-Man Forever and then the movie doesn't have Spider-Man in it.
But speaking to your point earlier, these sequels know how to fucking title a sequel. You got Spider-Man 2, 3, I'm not deviating, 4.
This comes as no surprise to me.
Yes.
That this is the path you've gone down.
Of course.
And your and I bought into your subterfuge. But I am not surprised by this result.
Excellent. So,
Mm-hmm.
I felt that Mary Jane and Peter Parker together at the end of 3 is a place it shouldn't go. She should not be with him, not after the things he did, even under the influence of the symbiote or whatever. I don't care what dark suit you put on. You hit me, you could go fuck yourself.
Yeah.
But I have to contend with the fact that they were back together dancing at the end of that movie.
Uh-huh.
So I'm going...
It was a dream.
I'm going cold open.
Ooh, cold open breakup.
No.
Oh.
Cold open, we see Mary Jane tied at the top of a building. Kidnapped.
Well, she's got form.
The camera crawls over the ledge to see Spider-Man fighting Scorpion on the side of the building. That's another villain from the comics.
Just called Scorpion?
Scorpion, yeah. He's got a big-ass tail filled with poison, as I understand it.
I'd expect no less from a villain called Scorpion.
Right? It makes sense, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So you're going to get a little bit of that vibe of Spider-Man 2 fighting on the side of the building, but then we're going to crash into the building as well, jumping through offices and, having ourselves a time.
Yeah.
Mary Jane's going to escape all on her own with no help from Peter for the first time in this fucking series. I guess you get a little flavor of that in 3.
Well, we forgot to mention that, didn't we?
Yeah.
That she strikes the decisive blow at the end of 3.
Yeah.
Which helps. And,
ever so
she
slightly.
Doesn't... It's one of the only improvement over the Spider-Man 2.
I'll agree with that.
There we go.
And as they come crashing through the other side of the building, I guess this is kind of a retread, but I have her kind of throwing something at Scorpion that hits them both. Okay. And takes Peter a little further down the building, at which point Scorpion minions start crawling out of the, like a window. I was going to say...
I love that you did research into the comic book, but not into scorpions as a species.
No. So... Well, but hang on. I didn't mean actual scorpions. I meant actual, like thugs.
Is this something that the comic book character happens with the comic book character?
Oh no, I don't know.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I have no idea. But what's going to happen is Peter's going to be detained by the minions, and Scorpion starts.
I don't want to call them minions because I'm just thinking
You're
of
thinking
the minions
of little yellow
now.
creatures?
Yeah. Let's call them Scorps.
All right, the Scorps. He's battling the Scorps as Scorpion. I almost said King. That's a wrong lane to go down. But as he starts shimmying up the side of the building straight towards MJ, Peter dispatches with the Scorps. He starts chasing after him. one right after the other to the top of the building. MJ's running away, and the sting comes down right into her belly. She's dead, buddy.
You're gonna kill her off in the cold open.
Kill her off in the cold open.
You're gonna battle for Endor this shit.
Yeah. Exactly right.
Tune into our watch along to
Right.
find out what that means.
I had this this idea, you know, that sort of green sword that Harry had.
Mm-hmm.
That maybe
Yes.
Peter would have it like on his side or something, and one way or another he's going to cut off the tail of the scorpion and have it over his head, ready to jam it into his body to kill him. And he decides not to. Scorpion goes to jail. Credit sequence.
That would be a good subtitle. Spider-Man 4: Scorpion goes to jail. He's there with Ernest.
That's what the movie's about. He's in jail.
It's a prison movie?
Oh, I was just going to say, all of a sudden, it becomes an innocent man with Tom Selleck. With a not-so-innocent man.
Yeah, I gotta say, I pity the defense lawyer who has to plead the case of someone who has a scorpion tail.
I remember reading, I can't remember what it was now, but I think there's supposed to be some sort of special jail in the comics.
Yeah.
That's
Well, they have that in the MCU.
kind of like
for
that
sure.
underwater thing in
Yeah.
Face Off, you know, something like that.
Well, there's definitely one in the MCU because I've seen it in the Lego Avengers.
Okay.
I think it's it's either in the air or it's underwater.
I thought it was underwater.
Yeah, probably. Seems like a bad idea to put all those villains in one place. But,
So,
you know.
Cold open. We got the title sequence.
wow.
That's my big swing. I'm going to kill off MJ.
So,
Yes.
okay. No,
Okay.
carry on.
Title card.
I just say, so they were happy. I thought you were going to pretend that that was an out of context moment where they were dancing.
No, I wasn't.
Okay.
I was going to deal with it, but now we're going to move
Or that
on.
that she was a corpse.
Yeah. Because that's one
Like,
thing
what you can't see when they're dancing is that he's holding up a corpse.
That's one thing the series has never done. Because you can't really count this Spider-Man 3. You know, the Gwen Stacy and MJ are both in that movie,
Yeah.
but Peter's only ever dating Gwen to make MJ jealous. Like, there's not a
Right.
real rivalry there.
Right.
So we're going to cut to 1 year later. Spider-Man, he's still fighting crime more out of habit, but he's not really liking the attention or the fanfare in the way he did in the previous films.
Flicking peanuts at a bar.
Yeah, right. no doucher man. Meanwhile, Aunt May, even the Russians that live next door, Betty Brant, they're all trying to encourage him to kind of go on with their life, or rather with his life.
Sure.
As he's kind of getting closer to Gwen Stacy. Like, Gwen Stacy is in his life, but he's keeping her at arm's length. She is set to graduate, and Peter has finally graduated. He's thrown himself into his work when he's not Spider-Man. He is working with Kirk Connors. He's sort of his assistant.
Oh, okay.
And Kirk Connors is working, of course, with reptilian DNA because his
Wow.
daughter has a vascular disease and she might lose her arm just as he lost his. He doesn't want that to happen. So he's pushing pretty hard on this reptilian DNA, and Peter is reminding him, you have to go slow. All of this, you know, you need constant kind of warnings. You're moving too fast.
Yeah, just short of turning yourself into a reptile.
Yeah, right, exactly.
Do that and then
What
take
you're
one
doing
step
right
back.
now is reckless and dangerous. In the meantime, he has become close with, you know, Kirk Connors' family. They're sort of an offshoot family. You know, Kirk Connors has become kind of a substitute father. And
Makes sense.
yeah. Now, he begins to get so worried, worried because Connors has become so obsessive that he actually holds back some information that might help Kirk Connors get to the next step.
Ah.
And
he sees the
writing on the wall
because of his experience with Doc Ock.
Yeah, right.
Just science generally has not really been a good.
It doesn't. Progress is not a good idea in these movies. And when Connors ends up finding this information, he goes ballistic. He fires Peter. He wants him out. Peter gives him, pleads with him that there's more to it, that this is not, it's incomplete, this idea. And if you implement it, it will be dangerous. So do not use it. He throws him out. And of course, we'll get the requisite scene in which he tries it. The lab blows up. People think he's dead, and including Peter, and then he just sort of shows up. He's at home. The family's thrilled. Peter's happy. And
then he starts using his retractable tongue
to
eat dinner.
I don't know enough about that character enough. I can't remember. Even in the Amazing Spider-Man, I can't remember if it's he has to take the potion and then become it, or if it's
like a Jekyll Hyde.
Yeah, if it's more Jekyll Hyde, or not Jekyll Hyde, but if it's more of a Hulk thing. When it's based on emotion, does he just appear as it? It's only occurring to me now that I didn't think of that, but...
Now, let's see which effect works better before you make that decision.
So in the meantime, what he has decided is that he's got to, kind of in a Doc Ock way, it's like he needs some money now so that he can continue his work. And Peter, not knowing that the Lizard Man is Kirk Connors, is going to foil his first robbery. This all of a sudden now makes Connors, because he's, part of the Lizard's thing is a super intellect and super strength. And he's going to start, I guess I glossed over this, in getting to know his family, they're also encouraging Peter to kind of move on with his life, and he's saying that he can't. And it's only once he becomes the Lizard that he's going to realize MJ was always being attacked by these Spider-Man villains. It seems fairly obvious what's going on here. So he's going to start following Peter and realize, that Peter is Spider-Man. So what he's going to do is he's going to bring Peter Parker back into the fold. He's going to apologize, and he's going to manipulate him as a father figure to start seeing more of Gwen, because she's about to graduate. They have more in common than he and MJ ever did. This would be good for him. He's a real
Terry Silver.
Yeah, exactly. Of course, we're going to have, more visits with Sage Aunt May, who reminds him that she knows what he looks like when he's in love. He should stop trying.
Did I ever tell you about my husband that died? She's getting
Sit down, let me tell you.
She doesn't even know. She's getting dementia now. She doesn't even know.
It turns out a lizard killed your uncle. No. Now
there's just a long line of people who were robbing him that day.
So it's at this point that Peter is starting to feel like everything in his life is starting to click in a better way.
Yeah.
Connors seems like he's on the right track because he's fronting that to him. And meanwhile, he is actually starting to fall for Gwen. And this is the time that the Lizard will break Scorpion out of prison.
Oh, right. I was wondering about that.
Pumps him with some serum to grow back his tail. And they kidnap Gwen. And then you're going to have this moment, because you brought this up too, but I had planned for this moment of Peter finally revealing to Aunt May in this particular series that he is Spider-Man. And that's why he's been resisting.
Yeah, they were definitely going to go
because look what happened the last time. and she kind of tells him you can't control that just as much as you can't control who you fall in love with. And so by the end, Peter must confront his worst fears, defeat both enemies, and save his new girl. Connors, of course, is going to be this tragic kind of figure that is woven throughout the series, that Pete defeats, but also saves, and has to kind of take him to prison. We'll probably have some sort of line like, "Tell my daughter I'm sorry." And that way you have that villain still available for later movies if you want to come back to him. And of course, because it's a Spider-Man movie, you got to end at a cemetery. So Peter is staring at the graves of Ben, Harry, and MJ.
It's like, I should really stop coming here. Yeah. It's so depressing.
So he leaves and comes through the gate, and of course there's Gwen Stacy, and she tells him, "I'm in love with you, and I don't want anybody but you." And he is sort of remaining silent, and she says, "Say something." And when he goes, we cut to credits.
That's great. Have we seen Gwen Stacy in the rest of the film?
Yeah. She's throughout.
Okay. It would also be cool if that was the first time we saw her.
Oh, that's interesting. I hadn't considered that at all.
But
I had mentioned earlier that they were working together because he's Connor's assistant,
right.
And she's about to graduate.
Yeah. That makes sense because we know she could be the other assistant.
Yeah. But I wanted to move on from one storyline into another one, but in a way that actually, had something actually happen for the characters. And the only,
you squeezed in 2 legacy villains.
Yeah, right. And
which is what I conspicuously failed to do.
I felt like it was time to move on from MJ.
Yeah.
So I went big swing and killed her in the cold open. So there you have it, Spider-Man 4.
But she came back as a vampire.
Period. Done. End of story. She comes back as a vampire. That'd be great.
Yeah. Well, who ironically is younger than when she was bitten.
Mary Jane Geis.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that is great. I mean, that's studio quality.
Well, it's certainly something I guess they might go for. Yeah, right.
Well, you mentioned, I think in the ranking episode that they did want to.
Yeah. I mean, a 4, 5, and 6, I think, is what Raimi wanted to do.
Probably not dissimilar from the film they would have made.
Maybe.
Especially if Kirsten Dunst was like, "I'm out."
Right. And that's the big thing is that, I mean, by the time you get to a 4th film, how many more boyfriend-girlfriend misunderstandings could you have?
Yeah, at some point, well, according to my pitch, about 3 or 4 more.
At least one more.
Yeah, I mean, it is. I think you have to fully commit to it being like melodrama or do something different. Yeah.
And the only, the best way I thought to do that is you gotta kill one. You gotta kill a character.
You just gotta get. You like to kill, I like to kidnap.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, there you have it.
I love the idea of like the 2 of us on a writers team, and it's just like we would never get
trying
anywhere
to combine these 2 story ideas.
Like up on the board is just like okay, we've got to choose between killing and kidnapping. It'd be like 12 Angry Men. It would just be like filibustering. Nope. Has to be kidnapping.
I would be saying, how many kidnappings have we had in the past? Do we really need another one? Yeah, but you don't understand. This one's on Spider Island. We're not in New York.
They take him to Spider Island. It's the title of the film. Would he have gone there on his own anyway? Probably. I think that's it's not just the trope of kidnapping in my sequel pitches. It's also kidnapping when the person would have found their way to the place
anyway.
That they kidnapped to organically anyway. I think that was the same in my Rocket
I think that's
pitch.
by far the most I've written down.
Yeah, it's extremely detailed,
Yeah.
and I think you covered all your bases there. Because you can promise Scorpio, you can promise, what's he called? Lizard?
The lizard.
He's not just called the
I
lizard.
think he is. We
For
talked about that, I
fuck's
think, in the ranking episode where I thought he
I'm
had
gonna
a cooler name,
say,
and I said, no, I think it's just called
I'm
the
going to
lizard.
say this out loud to whoever wants to hear it. The Spider-Man comics sound shit.
And not
They sound like
Scorpio,
they're-
that's Dirty Harry. It's Scorpion.
It's Scorpio. Did I say Scorpio?
I think so.
See, I'm actively making it better by getting it wrong. Then that does lean into Hank Scorpio from The Simpsons.
Yeah.
Which, of course,
If you
is
could
a
kill
Bond
somebody on your
parody.
way out the door, that'd really be a big help.
Do you want sugar? It's not in packets.
Oh, the hammock district.
And no. Yeah, of course you knew I loved that episode.
Oh, it's so good.
Yeah, I think you've done fantastically well with that. You've above and beyond.
All right.
And I've gone below and near.
No, I think you've done what you've always done, which is
That's the problem.
think outside the box. You always have. I think you always have an idea that nobody could come in
No rational human
predicting
being.
what
Yeah.
you were going to say.
Well, the Spider Island, I think there is a place called Spider Island. That is colloquially referred to as Spider Island because it's covered in spiders. So that was my starting point. It was we went in different directions. Like, you learned nothing about scorpions and everything about the character Scorpion.
Yeah.
I learned nothing about Spider-Man villains, but learned a lot about the wildlife of the Caribbean.
That's great. All right.
Yeah.
Well, it's up to
Beat that.
it's up to the people now.
Beat those.
Yeah. Send us yours, ladies and gentlemen.
Easily done. No, it's not.
Let's
yours
Busta
is-
Rhymes ourselves.
No. You can Busta Rhymes yourself all you want. I'm not Busta Rhymes myself for that.
You deserve a
You got
a
yourself
pat on the back.
You got yourself greenlit there. I'm stuck in Kidnap Alley.
That's high praise. High praise,
Yeah,
I say.
yes. I can see that. That's what I'm saying. It's like I absolutely see a Spider-Man 4. I think they would have made like 90% the same choices as you.
You know what's funny is that because I was sort of hell bent on I couldn't start it with Lizard Man, or at least not with the story I wanted to tell, and I was like, oh fuck, I need another villain then, and then I felt bad because I was like, oh, I'm going more than one villain. This is what I say makes these movies bad. And then I got about 3/4 of the way through my pitch, and I thought, well, I can't just not have, like, he's got to come back. And it was that.
Yeah, he can't be a cold open villain.
Yeah. And it was that moment where you said, oh, I was wondering what happened to him. And I thought, okay, I made the right choice. I can't just leave him in the fucking ether.
It depends how James Bond you want to go.
Yeah, that's true.
You could make it self-standing cold open.
Yeah.
But I gotta say, jail is a better layaway than Amnesia.
Right.
Or
Yeah, exactly.
is still crawling around New York somewhere.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, you're going to have to tell us which one of these pitches you want to see get made, or if you have one of your own. So, find us on Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter. Send us an email to everythingsequel@gmail.com and tell us your sequel to the Spider-Man series. For Tom Stewart of Lonesome Whistle Productions, Michael Shantz here of the How Dare You Awards. When you hear us next time, we're going to have a treat for you.
Oh, yeah.
Anniversary time.
Yeah, it's our 200th.
200th episode.
Yeah.
That's a lot of what I'm going to call entertainment we've created.
Yeah.
Good for us.
Are you still patting yourself on the back, Buster Rhymes, from before?
Absolutely.
Keep doing it.
Yeah.
Don't stop patting yourself on the back.
Gotta just keep going.
Just keep your hands permanently there, I say.
Sewn to my back.
Yeah.
All right. Say goodbye, Tom.
Peter, she knows me very well, and when she kissed me, it was just like she used to kiss me. That taste. Strawberries.
You really had to go that deep into the darkness on our last Spider-Man quote?
Oh, no, that's not a quote from Spider-Man 3. That's an excerpt from witness statement report about James Franco.
I was going to say. That quote is alarmingly prescient.
That was his that was his opening assembly at Sex School. That is what he opened with.
Terrible.
All right, well, we'll contact our lawyers and get back to you. see if we can ever release this episode. You'll know in the future if there's a Spider-Man 2 and it goes straight into our next series. You're like, there's an episode missing here. Where did it go?
That's great. All right, everyone. We'll work on the court case, and until then, wait for what we hope will be our 200th episode. So long.
I like to think I know something about beer, but nowadays even I get overwhelmed when confronted by the exhaustive selection of craft beers they have at bars, breweries, and even grocery stores. Back in the day you had one, maybe two craft beers to choose from, and if you were confused, you ordered a Guinness. But in beerstinations like San Diego, the craft beer options lately are in double, sometimes even triple digits. So what's a beer drinker to do? You need what I need, the Vegas Beer Guys. Your beer of choice should be a perfect blend of malt and hops. And so a live show about beer needs that same balance. And the Vegas Beer Guys matches beer expert Dan Aker with self-proclaimed beer novice Stephen J. Weiss. The results are eminently drinkable. They're on Facebook, they're on Instagram. They'll try new beers, they'll tell you about beer. Think of them as your beer Sherpas guiding you up a foamy-headed mountain to reach the peak of your pint. God, I need a beer.